Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. Fantasy. My mythical beasts all rely on synthesis. 26. Fantasy. My mythical beasts all rely on synthesis. Chapter 26. This person was none other than Meng Qing. He hurried all the way, and when he arrived here, he happened to be fighting between Xuanshu and the two, and he better witnessed the whole process of the battle. The corners of Zan Yi's mouth rose, put away the aura released outside, stroked the pangolin's head, and said softly, "You finally appeared. I thought you didn't dare to fight me, so which small corner did you hide in?" Meng Qing gently put Zan Shu down, stepped forward 2 steps, and said indifferently, "Whatever you say, you now have 2 choices, stay in the second position, save us to fight. After all, martial cultivators, you still have to value peace." When the surrounding teenagers heard this, anger appeared in their eyes. It's really deceptive. Who is Zan Yi? The second prince of the great Zan kingdom, who is also the top combat power of the royal family and even the young people of the generation of the great Zan kingdom, is a figure that countless people regard as surpassing their goals. But now that they are said that, how can they endure it? Zan Yi looked indifferent, looking like he was holding the victory. "It seems that you still have to go through the motions. I know what your reliance is, it is nothing more than aura and beast control. Kindly remind you, it is still time to admit defeat now, otherwise, you will become a fool." Rumble. Waves of obscure fluctuations dispersed like ripples centered on Xuanyi. This fluctuation made the souls of the onlookers tremble, and some of the young people who were not strong had even given birth to the idea of surrender in their hearts. Soul power, the pinnacle of void. There was an exclamation all around, and some young people had envy in their eyes. With this level of fluctuation, the divine soul of His Royal Highness the Second Prince has reached the peak of the Na-Void realm. Some girls' eyes were full of peach heart. The Second Prince is worthy of being the top combat power of my great Zan kingdom. Not only is his spiritual energy cultivation extremely high, but even his divine soul attainment is so strong. At this time, Zan Shu in the rear tightened his heart. In the case of the same spiritual chi cultivation, the level of divine soul attainment was very important, and she had never felt divine soul fluctuations on Meng Qing before. "It's over." Zan Yi roared lowly, clasped his hands together, and made a chopping gesture forward. Rumble. A dazzling coercive shock spread, and a soul power fluctuation that seemed to be a knife shape slashed towards Meng Qing. "This is your whole card. To be honest, it's really amazing." Meng Qing smiled and slowly stretched out a finger. A strong fluctuation was released, sweeping towards the surroundings like a shock wave, and at the moment of appearance, an atmospheric field was formed around Meng Qing. Meng Qing closed his eyes. Under the perception of soul power, Zan Yi's seemingly strong tricks were full of loopholes, and he randomly selected one, and the soul power was output. Under the soul power of the peak of the subtlety, the former's trick instantly collapsed. As if hit by a cannonball, Zan Yi flew out horizontally, fell heavily on the ground, and even made a long mark on the ground before stopping. The audience was dead silent. After a long time, a young man said weakly, "Fang Kai's attack is to find a flaw. To be able to achieve this step in such a short time, this must be in the micro realm, right?" Zan Yi got up embarrassed. His face was pale, his eyes were even bloodshot, his expression was panicked and unwilling, pointing at Meng Qing. "This is impossible. Why is your divine soul cultivation so high? I haven't felt the slightest fluctuation in you before." Meng Qing smiled lightly and said unimpressedly, "You were right. After all, I have just started cultivating the divine soul today." Zan Yi's face turned blue and white for a while, and finally a mouthful of blood spurted out, and he almost fainted. And the expressions of those onlookers looking at Meng Qing also changed. "Forget about the strength of high strength and hide it. What do you do, deliberately angry people? Capture the bamboo shoots. All the bamboo shoots on the mountain have been taken by you." Meng Qing continued, "I didn't lie to you. Don't be like this. This stone platform hasn't divided the winner or loser. Get up and fight me again." Zan Yi darkened his face. "Let it be for you. This first, I don't want it." At the first glance when he saw Meng Qing, Zan Yi had a sense of powerlessness that could not be matched, and the reason why he dared to fight was because he did not feel the existence of soul power fluctuations in the latter. But now that the soul power has been easily broken, isn't it looking for abuse if the aura is beaten again? Meng Qing nodded and turned around, only to find that Zan Shu was also looking at him with a look of wanting to speak. "What we just said is true. I really am a divine soul who has just started cultivating. Meng Qing repeated. Zan Yi, who turned around and was about to go to the second stone platform, almost fell to the ground. Do you want to kill people? Zan Shu gave him a roll of her eyes. She has been cultivating the divine soul for several years, but now she has not reached the peak of Na Void, and she can reach the subtle level in 1 day of cultivation. Say it to the ghosts. Just as she was about to turn around, Meng Qing suddenly stretched out her hand to stop her. Because of inertia and did not expect this scene, Zan Shu could not dodge and almost fell into the former's arms. Meng Qing avoided it in time, and then said, I talked to you before, weren't you unconvinced? Today I can give you another chance, now let's start. Zan Shu's face turned red when she thought of Fang Kai's scene, especially in front of so many people of the same clan, and she pushed Meng Qing in shame at the moment. Who wants to compete with you? Get out of here. Meng Qing fell to the ground. Zan Shu was startled, and when he was about to step forward to help, Meng Qing turned over and dodged, and said with a straight face. Your Royal Highness, little princess, just the two of us fought together. I didn't expect your cultivation to be so high. It is really invincible. The first place in this trial is now yours. Zan Shu was stunned in place, and for a while she didn't know what to say. Zan Yi, who had already walked to the foot of the mountain, heard these words clearly, and only felt a faint pain in his heart. At this time, he just wanted to raise his head to the sky and shout, take the bamboo shoots. The young girls around only felt that the bottom of their hearts was not a taste, and a young girl said sourly. Her Royal Highness the little princess is really a blessing, there is such a young man around. How nice it would be if I could be like that. Zan Shu's face turned even redder. Although so many people were talking about her, Xuanshu was not angry, but there was a sense of satisfaction in her heart. Under the envy of a young royal family, Xuanshu ascended the first stone platform. After an hour, the trial is over. The people on the 6 stone platforms were qualified to go to the Yunxiao sect to practice. What puzzled many people was that Meng Qing did not occupy a seat, but hurried to the north of the palace at the end of the trial. This time the trial place was very important, and the king of the Great Zan Kingdom even appeared when the award was presented. For the ranking of the 6, the people in the royal family did not react much, but many people expressed shock that Xuanshu had achieved the first place. Just when the activities ahead were in full swing, Meng Qing was already sitting opposite Elder Zan, playing a chess piece that was very similar to chess. Meng Qing gently pushed the first pawn on his right-hand side forward and asked. This time the trial land decided on the disciples who can go to the Yunxiao sect to practice. If nothing else, these people will be the mainstay of the future Great Zan Kingdom. Don't you go and take a look. Nothing to see, mainstay or something, it's too early to say. Elder Zan also pushed the first soldier on the right-hand side 1 step forward. The things you entrusted me with this time have been completed. Do you still have any orders? Meng Qing's son took 2 steps in a row of Fang Kai's pawn, and ate one of Elder Zan's soldiers. Fantasy. My mythical beasts all rely on synthesis. 27. Fantasy. My mythical beasts all rely on synthesis. Chapter 27. The corner of Elder Zan's mouth twitched slightly, and he took 2 steps away from the car and said. You owe me that you have already paid off. I think if it weren't for you, Shuer might not have won a place, right? Meng Qing nodded, and the driver flew 2 steps to the left, and ate a soldier again. Zan Yi's strength is indeed strong. His beast can untie the control, but even without me, Zan Shu can still win the second. Except for Zan Yi, she has no opponent. Elder Zan was patient and drove the cannon to the rear of a soldier in a decent manner. Meng Qing's face was not red, and his heart did not beat, and he moved forward towards the diagonal of the 2 spaces and ate the phase. Elder Zan's hand trembled lightly and moved the car sideways. In the next step, Meng Qing moved sideways again and ate Elder Zan's car. Since you didn't go to the award ceremony, I don't think you have taken a place in the trial. What do you want to do next? Elder Zan pretended to run away at will, still intending to eat Meng Qing's son in the traditional way. In the next second, the pawn spanned a few degrees and ate the unmoved cannon on the other side. I had agreed with Master Venerable to go to the Yunxiao sect as soon as possible, and since the matter here has been settled, it is natural to leave for there. Elder Zan was suddenly in a good mood, and he planned to eat Meng Qing's pawn. Before entering the trial, Prince An's heir's right hand was bitten off, and few people know your identity now. it is difficult to guarantee that nothing will go wrong, and it is indeed a good way to leave as soon as possible. But before his sun fell, Meng Qing moved his sun one block below. Meng Qing said positively, I heard that over the years, the Yunxiao sect will only distribute access quotas to enter the sect, and disciples from various places need to go to the sect spontaneously. Why don't I go with them? This is not difficult, but according to the regulations, people who do not have a quota are not allowed to go, and disciples who go to the sect are not allowed to bring servants. Elder Zan said so. Then follow the method that is not difficult, it is not a big deal to publish the identity, and it can save trouble. Meng Qing said. The reason why he did not disclose his identity was purely because he did not want to make trouble. After all, it won't stay here for long, and it's better to keep a low profile. I can arrange for you to board the ship, but how to enter the sect when you get there, you don't have to worry about it. Elder Zan said again. Meng Qing nodded and handed over his hand. In this way, the junior thanked Elder Zan. At the end of the game, Meng Qing got up and left. Elder Zan looked at Meng Qing's back, and then looked at the pawn in the Chu River Han realm and the chessboard where only one handsome was killed, and couldn't help but laugh bitterly. What is Grandpa laughing at? A bouncing figure rushed briskly, it was Zan Shu. Old General Zan rearranged the chess pieces and beckoned. Come, Shuer, accompany Grandpa in the next chess game. Zan Shu sat down seriously, very obediently walking chess, but he was soon killed. Elder Zan smiled. Say, the good rank of winning the first place is not to show off everywhere, but to run to me and what do you want to do? Zan Shu looked righteous. Whatever, Grandpa said nonsense, haven't I been playing chess with you for a long time, I'm going to Yunxiao sect soon, can't I accompany you? Elder Zan shook his head. You were brought up by me, and you still want to hide it from me. Honestly, what's going on? Zan Shu said positively. Grandpa, don't you think Meng Qing's talent is very good? With his talent, staying in our great Zan kingdom will definitely not get good resources. Is it possible, for the sake of the future of our great Zan kingdom, it is a good choice to take him to the Yunxiao sect? Quote. If you replace him, you will replace one of the remaining 5 guys, who do you think is better to change? Elder Zan asked rhetorically. Zan Shu was stunned for a moment. According to the regulations, the quota given by the Yunxiao sect is the same in each place. If Meng Qing wants to go, someone must come down. After Fang Kai learned that he would be going to the Yunxiao sect in 3 days and even that the list had come down, Zan Shu's head was hot and he came to find it. But now she found that things were far from as simple as she thought. Okay, let's go. Meng Qing is much more powerful than you think. It doesn't hurt to tell you. Meng Qing, who was accepted as a disciple by the Golden Elder of the Yunxiao sect some time ago, is him. He will go to the Yunxiao sect. If you want to do something, it is better to cultivate hard and keep up with his pace. Elder Zan wrote lightly. Zan Shu left stunned, completely different from the elated look when she came. Elder Zan sighed softly. After such a long time, you really spared no effort in hitting the hearts of juniors. A deep voice came, and at some point, a middle-aged man wearing a dragon robe quietly appeared and sat opposite Elder Zan. Old man Zan did not raise it. Do you know what is wrong with the gap as soon as possible? It's better than sinking deeper and deeper and then accumulating a basket full of disappointment. The man nodded slightly. That's good, but compared to this, Ben Wang is still a little interested in this young man named Meng Qing. Do you know what the second man said to me after he came out? Seeing that Elder Zan did not answer, the man continued. He said that before entering the secret realm, he was sure that Meng Qing did not have divine soul fluctuations on his body, but when the final battle came, Meng Qing's divine soul was at least in the micro realm. Elder Zan said solemnly, the old second son is arrogant, and he may not underestimate the enemy. You are wrong. Qin Tianjian came to play, saying that the soul crystal reaction in the deep pit of yesterday's trial earth disappeared. After the man finished speaking, he added. In less than half an hour, those soul crystals disappeared cleanly. Go for it. The chess pieces in Elder Zan's hand fell in response to the sound, and after turning several circles on the chessboard, they finally stabilized. He was silent for a long time, and finally said, that was originally a chance, whoever got it was whoever got it, and Meng Qing was also a person from my great Zan kingdom. The man seemed to have received a satisfactory reply. You don't say that I know, and besides, his identity is different now, what can we do? After the man left, Elder Zan picked up the chess pieces again, landed on the chessboard, and whispered to himself. Xuanji Mountain. 3 days later, a golden piece of paper flew from the southwest and descended on the palace at sunrise, opening up like a small sun. This was the will sent by the Yunxiao sect, and it was also a certificate for the freshman disciples of the Great Zan Kingdom to join the former. After a grand send-off, the group boarded a spaceship, and amid the cries of everyone, the spacecraft rose into the air, and then shot to the southwest, and soon disappeared into the sky. Zan Yi was in a good mood. The Yunxiao sect would be a brand new journey for him, and he had the confidence that he could get ahead even in the Yunxiao sect. Stepping out of the cabin, I wanted to breathe on the deck, but I caught a glimpse of a man lazily lying on the railing. This person seems a little familiar. Zan Yi walked up and went forward to comfort this person with the idea of being in a good mood, but when he saw the man's face, his mood suddenly became bad. Why are you here? Quote, Fantasy. My mythical beasts all rely on synthesis. 28. Fantasy. My mythical beasts all rely on synthesis. Chapter 28. This is none other than Meng Qing. The first time he took the spaceship, Meng Qing only felt that his stomach was turning over the river, and he didn't have a good breath. What do you mean? Why can't I show up here? Zan Yi thought of the scene where he was beaten before and had no power to fight back, and a chill suddenly arose in his heart. But when he thought that he was now a quasi-disciple of the Yunxiao sect, but Meng Qing did not have this identity, a sense of superiority was suddenly born. Forget it. I know that you want to admire the greatness of the Yunxiao sect, but in the end, visitors and contestants are two different concepts. Stay well. If the performance is good, when I become a disciple of the Yunxiao sect, I can take you in to visit 1 or 2. Zan Yi said proudly. Meng Qing rolled his eyes, really not wanting to pay attention to this person. Idiot. Zan Yi suddenly became angry and said angrily. What do you mean? Now that I have the number of disciples of the Yunxiao sect, I am different from you and you. Okay, I know I'm a cloud, you're mud, don't stress it. Meng Qing waved his hand, turned around and prepared to walk towards the cabin. Zan Yi's face now is really infuriating, but Meng Qing is too lazy to do it now. Without him, he is a little dizzy. You can't go in there, that's the room prepared for me, you can't enter without permission. Zan Yi caught up. Meng Qing stood in front of a room, looked at Zan Yi, who rushed to remind him, kindly, put a waist tag on the door handle, turned it slightly, and the cabin door opened. The corners of Zan Yi's mouth couldn't help but freeze. Then, he shouted, how can you have the identity token of the Imperial Grandfather? This spaceship is nominally the Great Zan Kingdom, but the actual controller is Zan Lao. Except for the keys distributed, Zan Lao's identity token can open all hatches. Of course, only people that Elder Zan truly trusted could get this token. Meng Qing waved his hand. Second brother, your room looks good, lend me 2 days to stay, and I'll pay you back when I get to Yunxiao sect. The door was closed. Zan Yi's face turned dark, and he remembered that this was the suite numbered 001, which was obtained by him before traveling, but now he was occupied by Meng Qing before he could stand firm. What's even more disgusting is that he still calls himself the second oldest. This is the code name for his father and Zan Lao. Meng Qing, I grass your uncle. Zan Yi cursed angrily. The soundproofing of this room is so good that the people inside are destined to be inaudible. In the room, Meng Qing lay on the soft big bed, and then took out a bag from his waist, poured it out, and a chicken cry came out, and the chicken brother flew out of it alive. This is a storage space that can be specially used to store spirit beasts, and it was given to Meng Qing by Elder Zan, and there are nearly 10 cubic meters of space, which is extremely expensive, just enough to throw Brother Chicken into the activity. In fact, all warriors with some identity and strength will be equipped with such storage space when they travel far away, otherwise some warriors' beasts are too large, and walking in the city must cause panic. Because of her small size, the queen ant curled up in Meng Qing's sleeve robe, crawled out at this time, and asked, Master, this trip is very far, you better rest. Meng Qing waved his hand, sat on the bed and meditated, and it took half an hour for him to react. Calculating the time, there are still 5 days to walk before the Yunxiao sect, and there are not many resources left on my body, and it is estimated that it is not enough to break through to the cave heaven realm. Meng Qing said to himself that he had to do something to ensure his integrity. After all, in the land of Crouching Tiger and Hidden Dragon, there may be enemies that cannot be dealt with. The Ant Queen has now reached the Martial King realm, but he did not feed back the aura as expected, which made him a little puzzled. The chicken brother is like a planer, and after a while, he will scratch the delicate carpet. Meng Qing slapped it over. Be careful, if you scratch this thing, you have to pluck your whole body hair to pay for it. Brother Chicken suddenly froze and shrunk in a small corner of the room, as if he was spitting. 2 days passed quickly. During this period, Meng Qing closed the door, and after adapting to the bumps of the spaceship, he tried to run the aura, and everything was normal. He even expected Zan Yi to come and do something, so that he could take the opportunity to scavenge his Chenkin bag. After all, when these royal disciples went to the strange realm to practice, they had to bring enough entanglement on their bodies. But he was disappointed. Zan Yi seemed to swallow this breath, shrinking in another room to cultivate silently. This made Meng Qing a little regretful and missed the opportunity to make a small fortune. Rumble. Meng Qing stood by the window, looking at the mountains that were rapidly receding, and when he was admiring, a black spot flew in the distance. The next moment, the spacecraft was injured and was jolting violently. Is there an enemy attack? Meng Qing was puzzled, but immediately after, the jolt of the spacecraft became more and more terrifying, as if it had lost its endurance, it was actually falling downward. Under attack, you guys quickly come to the deck to assemble and prepare for a forced landing. When Meng Qing arrived at the deck, he found that there were several broken and unseemly spaceships high in front of him, and on each of them stood several strong people, and their cultivation was above the middle stage of the cave heaven realm. The people who were originally cultivating ran in panic, and the face of the leading General Xuanshou was gloomy and terrifying. Soon, Zan Yu spoke. Everyone, I am waiting for the people of the Great Zan Kingdom, and I am about to go to the Yunxiao sect, and the ships are all prospective disciples of the Yunxiao sect, please raise your noble hands. The other party was silent for a short time, and then they all shot together. Zan Yu was a little unbelievable. Knowing that they were disciples of the Yunxiao sect, they dared to make a move. The worst thing is that this spaceship they are riding on has no weapons to compete with at all, just fast. But right now, the spacecraft is damaged, and whether it can continue to fly is another matter. Rumble. The spacecraft was hit by 2 incoming beams, as if a remnant who had received a fatal blow, crashed to the ground, and at the same time, all protection mechanisms failed. A large net fell, enveloping all the people on the deck. Someone shouted, "This is a spirit bundle net, which can suppress spiritual qi." Zan Yu withstood that powerful oppressive force and wanted to strike. A sword blade flew and stabbed him in the lower abdomen, and the strong force above even took him out and was nailed to the ground. In an instant, the deck was surrounded like dumplings, and instantly stood full of people holding various spirit weapons. Whether it was those princes or commoners, how had they ever seen such a scene? All of them were dumbfounded, and they didn't even dare to move. To the Yunxiao sect, it's you who catch it. A man who looked like a leader shouted. Boss, how do these people deal with it? One asked. Obviously, he was still a little jealous of the Great Zan Kingdom. He can see that the young girls in this are extraordinary, most of them are princes and queens. If they are killed here, I am afraid that it will attract crazy retaliation. Take away. Wait for the boss to make a decision. The spaceship disposed of, this is our first wave of prey, we must do the sharp point. The chief said again. The group was escorted, while Xuanshou had a livid face and roared lowly. We are going to the Yunxiao sect, but you are intercepting me and waiting on the road, not afraid that the Yunxiao sect will settle the account. The chief came up and kicked. Settle the score. You can't help but think too highly of you. The Yunxiao sect is so big, it has to recruit tens of thousands of disciples every few years. 10 people, what if there are few? Hearing this, everyone's hearts darkened for a while Meng Qing in the crowd frowned slightly. The group turned left and right on the mountain road and finally entered a hollowed-out mountain. Immediately, a strong mountain-like aura crushed them, making them almost breathless. King Wu. Soon, there was only one leader left in the field who had captured them earlier. Only at this time did the Xuanshou people standing in the rear react after realizing it. They looked at the corpses in one place, and then at Meng Qing, and they only felt that something was unreal. That's a martial king. In a place like the Great Zan Kingdom, it is possible for a martial king to run amok and even subvert a country. But now he died in Meng Qing's hands. It's a bit magical. Zan Yi was terrified in his heart. Looking at Meng Qing, he only felt that his scalp was numb. Those two beasts were too strong, and the thought of him insulting Meng Qing on the deck made him feel cold. If Meng Qing wanted to kill him, maybe he didn't know how to die. As for Zhan Yu and the others, in addition to awe, there was also shame in their eyes. After all, not long ago, they also accused Meng Qing of mutiny, and now that I think about it, the reason why they didn't make a move at that time was mostly to take care of their safety. Thinking of this, Meng Qing's image in their hearts suddenly became tall. When the leader saw Meng Qing coming, his legs went limp, and he knelt directly on the ground. He only regretted at this time, he shouldn't have summoned a killing god to his home. Meng Qing didn't want to talk nonsense, and asked directly, "Whose orders do you listen to? Why kidnap me, etc.?" The leader hurriedly said, "This is not my idea, everything is the order of the boss. Some time ago he was injured while walking in an extremely cold place. The cold poison is difficult to disperse, so he asked for medicine everywhere. A strong man of the fire tribe said that if there are 10 places for the disciples of the Yunxiao sect, he can get rid of the cold poison for the boss." Quote, Fire Clan. He had previously seen in some texts that only extremely strong forces with top-notch combat power could create clan factions, and this Fire Clan was one of the best. It is said that it has existed for a long time, and the background is very terrifying. Meng Qing could see that this person was very flustered, not like he was lying, so he continued to ask. "Buying and selling the number of disciples of the Yunxiao sect. Are you not afraid of being tracked down afterwards? That master told us that the phenomenon of buying and selling disciple quotas in the Yunxiao sect is very common, and even if something goes wrong, the fire race will bear it for us." The leader swallowed and said quickly. Meng Qing secretly pondered his words, and asked, "Where is the far north that your boss mentioned?" "In the northwest Snow tribe, but where exactly is small is not clear." The corner of Meng Qing's mouth twitched. "Then what do I want you for?" The leader was startled, and when he wanted to say something more, a sharp pain came from behind, his eyes were black, and his body softened. He didn't ask where this man's Jiaofei's treasures were hidden. He had a heavenly eye, and he probably saw more than this leader knew at this time. Moreover, as a bandit, this person has always followed Zhao Fei and did not do less burning and looting, and it is not a pity to die. Zhan Yu and the others in the rear were stunned again, and they were all shocked by Meng Qing's killing methods. He pointed to several places and beckoned Brother Chicken and Queen Ant to start at the same time. Whoops! One by one, heavy Chenkin bags were dug up, so that the rear people were hungry. In this regard, Meng Qing was not polite and accepted all the orders. Then, he reached out and took out Zhao Fei's Chenkin bag as well, but when it was all opened, Meng Qing couldn't help but pull the corners of his mouth. There are actually not many things in this. There are very few elixirs, they are all scattered spirit stones, all of which add up to about 2 million. He could understand why. Zhao Fei had been eroded by cold poison, and most of the valuable items and elixirs had been replaced with flint, and these should be coffin books. As for the flint on the ground, most of them have lost their medicinal power, which is no different from waste. When he untied the last Chenkin bag, Meng Qing's eyes suddenly lit up. There is a complete spaceship in this. This is a 3-pin spirit weapon. Meng Qing's breathing was a little short, said. The division of flying spirit weapons and ordinary spirit weapons is somewhat different, such as the one destroyed by the Great Zon Kingdom. Although luxurious, it does not have the means of attack, and it is a little reluctant to count the second grade. But right now, this one is in the 3rd pin, and there are even some swarthy guns on the side of the ship. Picked up the baby. Although Zhan Yi and the others did not know what was in the Chenkin bag, they knew from Meng Qing's face that this thing must be unusual, and everyone was envious and jealous at the moment. Hey! Just as the group exited the cave and Meng Qing was about to destroy the place with a fire, a place in the corner where ice condensed attracted Meng Qing's attention. Opening his heavenly eyes, Meng Qing was stunned. There was a pile of broken bones buried underneath. He dug it up, took out a piece and squeezed it in his hand, but found that this thing was very cold, like touching 10,000 years of Zanbing. Brother Chicken and the Queen came at the same time, a little puzzled why Meng Qing was stunned by these bones. He asked the Queen, "Can you tell the difference between these bones?" The Queen Ant listened and looked carefully, and was about to shake her head, but suddenly said in surprise, "I seem to have detected a very obscure breath." Meng Qing was stunned. He originally planned to die as a living horse doctor, but he didn't expect that there was really something in it. Brother Chicken burned carefully with the heavenly obituary golden yan, and for a long time, the cold ice above finally dissipated. There's writing on it. The queen ant was surprised and inexplicable, and felt more and more that this bone was not simple. Meng Qing took it all away, and when he was sure that nothing was missing, he collapsed the place and left. Outside, everyone was waiting for him. Meng Qing found the boats these bandits were riding on before and greeted. Let's take this to the Yunxiao sect next. When it was time to sail, the crowd was once again overwhelmed. Because if you want the spaceship to operate, someone must urge it with aura, and before this task was Xuanxiang's, and now that he is injured, it is naturally not suitable. Meng Qing scanned everyone, and at a glance he saw Zanyi, who was constantly hiding back. Zanyi, just you, don't run, you come to drive the boat. Zanyi shook the soles of his feet, and he was constantly cursing Meng Qing in his heart. The second prince of his grand Zan kingdom, but now he came to sail for these people. He looked at Xuanxi as if for help, but found that the old god of the latter was there, and he didn't see it. After all, Meng Qing had saved them just now, and Zan Yu had received Elder Zan's order before coming, and Meng Qing went without excess. Combined with the situation just now, Xuanxi would naturally remain silent. Zan Shu's smile trembled. Second brother, you just go, you are the highest ranking person among us, don't you personally demonstrate it. Zan Shusheng is very beautiful, I didn't like to dress up before, today a long emerald green dress, hair tied behind the head, white skin is shocking, bright eyes and teeth, standing there is like a picture scroll, at this time a smile, people like a spring breeze, can't help but look at it more. Rao is Meng Qing and couldn't help but glance at it a few more times. Zan Yi walked forward with a reluctant look. Hurry up, grind less, or cut off your hands and feet. Meng Qing threatened. The latter just stepped forward, but when he saw that he needed to inject spirit stones to start this spacecraft, he was about to find others to spread it evenly, but when he looked up, he saw Meng Qing's serious face, and immediately paid for it himself, and the action was completed in one go. The spaceship flew into the air, and everyone sat on the ground, because this spaceship was originally not large, and there was no cabin. When those young girls from noble backgrounds looked at Meng Qing, in addition to awe, there was a little schadenfreude in their eyes, and the prince who drove the boat for everyone was really the first time. As for the four disciples from humble origins, they seemed to regard Meng Qing as idols at this time. Stepping on someone with a higher status than themselves and driving him to do things is something they want to do but are not capable of doing, and seeing Meng Qing do it at this time, they naturally regard it as a god-man. Meng Qing saw that there was no difference in the surroundings, came to the stern alone, and spread all the broken bones he obtained on the deck. Click on the system. Ding. A number of irregular bone fragments that can be synthesized have been detected. Is it synthetic? Yes! Exclamation mark. Congratulations to the host for successfully synthesizing several irregular broken bones and obtaining poorly preserved bones. 1. Close black lens bracket. Please like and subscribe.